I love it. Thank you, Neil, for this introduction to our today's topic about physical health, because we talk about a lot about all different mental stuff and business, etc. How we need to take care of ourselves from this perspective, how we should grow, be more self-aware, etc. But in this 3D, we also have our physical bodies that we have to take care of. And it was a request from Marta, who wanted to find out more about these different tricks that we are all using potentially to keep our body healthy. Or maybe there is something on our list to do. Because to be honest, I have still a couple of things to change in my everyday diet, uh, or some sort of rituals to do. And I'm curious what you are doing, guys, to keep your body in a good shape. Neil, for sure you have something there.
Well, I do. I just hurt my toe again. I broke my toe in July. It was getting better. The doctor said start wearing sneakers and go for a bike ride. So I took my daughter on a bike ride and I went down this like incline with water and then back up the other side and I slipped and I kind of broke it again. It hurt a lot last couple of days. So I guess don't do that.
So don't ride a bike.
But I do a lot of fasting, and so I've been still the last since July, since I hurt my foot, and before that I was super active, and I was like, I really don't want to gain weight just by sitting still. So, and also I learned that fasting like releases a lot of stem cells, which is great for healing broken toes, for example. Gets your inflammation to zero, grows brain cells. You can talk to like the spirit world better when you're fasted. Like everything just gets easier. So I've been doing a lot of that the last few months, and it like I lost weight. I lost even more weight
You
just
look
by sitting
like.
still.
You
Yeah.
actually look like. And that's interesting how this fasting was introduced to us. Like we shouldn't fast more than a couple of days. And then it's actually super beneficial for us. As you mentioned, like our
It
cells
is.
are regrowing, like repairing themselves. That's amazing.
There's some videos like on
Yeah.
like Dr. Berg, Berg. If you do fasting benefits, Dr. Berg. The first times I fasted, I watched this video probably like 30 times for the motivation to make it through but it is just you realize everything's in your mind. Like you eat at the same times. So your mind, it's like your body's telling you, but it doesn't actually need it because we store 100,000 calories. Like a slim person stores 100,000 calories of meals. So we think that we're not eating, but you are eating. You're just eating the stored fat that's either in your liver or somewhere inside of you. And
Can I
Probably
ask,
a
like,
lot of.
go on.
Yeah, Charlotte.
I was going to say, like, ask how you do it. Is it intermittent fasting or is it like all day? Because there's so many different ways of doing it. So just wondering, like, have you found something that works really well?
I think intermittent fasting is a great way to like build up your tolerance to like, like
I'm
the
doing
first.
it actually.
Okay, cool. Sure.
Actually, it's funny because already my partner, she's been doing it since I've met her, and I was always like, no, I have to eat my breakfast. In order to be healthy, you need to eat your breakfast. And it's very funny because when I told my dad that I started doing intermittent fasting, he told me exactly the same. And I started doing it actually when I was traveling with Aga to London because we were very busy, and I have figured out that I actually felt better when I wasn't just eating so much and I was just having a bit lighter mornings, just maybe with a tea or something like that. And since then it just became my habit. I For example, for me, like fasting for the entire day, I would need to have a bit more time, and I live a very dynamic life. But for me, the intermediate fasting, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, so I guess it just sounds a bit like blobby when I'm pronouncing it. But nevertheless, for me, like I live a very fast-paced life still, and just this kind of fasting just kind of allows me to still do more things, because I think that if I was like really trying to fast for an entire day, I would
I lost her.
Yeah, we lost her.
been able to do as many things as I would wish to.
Yeah, I
what
agree with
happens?
that. Yeah.
Could you hear me?
No, go ahead, Charlotte.
No, I was going to say, like, because I've also, like, I've done like a juice cleanse before, and I did a 3-day one, and I really found that quite difficult. But intermittent fasting I find easier. So if like don't eat for like eat breakfast really late, or eat and then just like have a juice or something, and then have lunch a bit later, and that kind of cut down, rather than, because when I was juicing, I just was thinking all day I need to eat, or I want to eat, so I couldn't actually. I was concentrating on that rather than kind of freeing my mind.
It's especially difficult when you go out somewhere and you are bombarded with all this food and temptation around you. I think the best option is like when you can really rest all days, like this couple of days that you are truly fasting, and also don't spend that much energy on other stuff. Otherwise, it can be difficult. And then I would try only like maybe that I eat only once a day. Some veal.
Jackie's a champion. She does like 7-day fast. Jackie, get in here.
What? Jackie, you did 7-day
Go.
fasting?
Jackie, are you alive there?
Can you guys hear me?
Oh yeah.
Yes, now we
Yeah.
Yep.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you
Yes.
now.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm having like major tech issues today. But yeah, I love fasting. I've had like a super complicated relationship with like food and diet and exercise and all that stuff my whole life. So, what I can tell people who are new to fasting is that it's a journey. There's like a lot of different types of ways. It's kind of like approaching Web3. You just have to be open and like, you'll find out a lot about yourself. And fasting, I think, can be very spiritual because, like Neil said, it like, I don't know, you're like vibing different, like you're just open. And if you're like meditating at the same time, like it can be super powerful. It's hard for me to like sustain for super long periods of time, if I'm being honest. But, and yeah, I think it's so weird that we both have these broken toes. It's like my stupid pinky toe, and it just keeps
No.
re-breaking, and it's like consistently interfering with my life. And my one friend does acupuncture, and I'm like, girl, like what am I not dealing with? So I'm very much figuring it all out myself too. But and like
Maybe it's
Iga
helping
mentioned, if
you.
you're gonna fast for a while,
Maybe it's helping you somehow.
I
Like
think
maybe
I
it's
think a lot of
like your broken pinky. Maybe your broken pinky's helping you somehow.
I mean, that was very funny because it was right after your
yeah.
post, Neil, that you were saying, I appreciate every part of my body, even my toe. I was laughing about this toe.
My toes, my nose, and I'm
toe,
broken.
toe everywhere.
Yeah, I think you know, if we're really trying to live in awareness, then we're t the type of people that believe, uh, that the energy is working with us somehow. So, yeah, life's a puzzle to figure out, and human beings are really good at puzzles. So, I guess the point is to have fun with it. I found it's better when you do it with people. I like doing challenges and things like that, like to get back on track. It's funny, I was just thinking about this coming into today. And I was like, I bet Gary could build an app that could optimize me really quickly. Um, so yeah, it's good we're all talking about it.
Gary, challenge accepted. Sorry, I muted you because you had some background noises there. I cannot unmute you just like this. You need to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm sorry. There's kind of like a lot of background noise. I'm trying to, even I'm like trying to like kind of like tap into listen to what I'm like listening to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and Marta is here too. Okay. But we were saying if challenge accepted,
Okay.
Jackie mentioned some application here.
Wait, Jackie, what application were you talking about?
I was sort of just kidding, but I was saying how like, tracking your progress and being involved with this whole like fasting and meditating and all of this, like you could build an app that could optimize all of this for me.
I
I don't
think
want to have to
Yolanda
think
is
about
using
thinking about
something.
myself.
Sorry, I think Yolanda is using something. I don't know. I don't remember the name, but we can ask her afterwards too. Hi, Brian.
I
Great
know
to
I'm
have
using.
you.
How you doing?
Great. We're just talking about fasting. Have you ever
Oh,
tried
good for
it?
you. How are you guys? Have I ever tried fasting? Yeah, I have actually, and it was. I probably need to do it again as well. I feel like I've been putting on the pounds since probably COVID or whatever. But I've done 3 days is the most I've done. Like, so that would be what, like 70, 70, 80 hours or something like that.
Wow.
And it was trippy, like towards the end, I could definitely feel that I was getting muscle cramps. And
Whoa.
the only thing I had was like water and green tea, basically. And I've done like regular 24-hour, 36-hour ones, which are once you do get a sort of an initial shock from it. I mean, I'm sure other people have tried this anyway, so I'm not telling you anything new.
No, it's about that's what we are doing, like sharing experiences. How
Yeah.
long or how was it? If we have any tips for others too.
I mean, I would
Regarding
say probably the first thing to do is probably just to skip breakfast and lunch and have a small evening meal or something like that. Just to get into the habit of, I mean, we grow up with this whole idea that it's 3 meals a day, and we don't actually need them, especially if we're living relatively sort of sedentary lives compared to, it's not like manual labor or anything. You know what I mean?
And what changes did you find, guys, when fasting in your body, like immediately, or I don't know, in the face? For me, it's always like my face gets cleaner.
Definitely, yeah. What else?
Have you guys done mushrooms? It's a lot
Are
like
we
doing
recording?
mushrooms.
We are
You
on
just
recording here.
oh, whatever. It's decriminalized here. So like your awareness goes up. Your awareness, like your in tuneness, like if the mycelium, if everything's talking to itself, each other, when you fast, you're more in tune with that 100%. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different
I'll tell you
experience,
what I
also
was thinking
mental.
earlier was sorry to butt into your line of discussion there, but it's World Mental Health Day. I noticed. Was that an accident? I've seen it on LinkedIn today a couple of times.
An accident.
An
But we are
accident.
talking about physical health. I mean, everything is connected. We
Actually,
have both.
I would argue that our mental health is is in a very close relationship with our physical health. So for me, I always like to say it's Emotional Wellness Day. That's my spin on it.
Yeah, well, the two are
Okay.
connected, aren't they?
Yeah.
Mind and body. That's not really a revelation to anyone, is it?
And then the third one would be
No, and
definitely
actually,
like emotions. True. Sorry.
there's a book called The Body Keeps the Score by Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, I believe his name is. And it was written quite a few decades ago, but it's really excellent at explaining all of these sort of relationships and our hormones and things that indicate other things. And like I said, there's been periods in my life where I've been really perhaps too obsessive about like everything on like a macro and micro level, but um, like I think the difference for me with fasting is that it's kind of like the highest form of sobriety because I do notice that like when I fast, I'm very intentional about everything else too. Like I'll make sure my workload is lower and just in general, like it's really like a time of reflection and it's yeah, like I kind of have to like plan it into my life. So
You're more
yeah.
in the now. Like you're experiencing more.
I think that's an interesting way of looking at it as well. Is like fasting for, like not fasting for like weight loss purposes, but fasting more for like, you know, cleansing, detoxing, like getting more in touch with your like mind, body, spirit over those days, and actually taking time out to use it as a form of like change rather than I'm doing this for to lose a bit of weight, because it's like putting it into your lifestyle. And with diets don't work anyways. Like it has to be like a lifestyle choice to just eat more healthy and clean, and over time you'll naturally lose that. But I think looking at fasting a bit differently, mindful, in a mindful way is a bit interesting way of looking at it.
I love it what you said, like kind of intention, why we are doing it, like we're taking this action actually, and for what reason. There is something like bigger for like that we make some good to our body in general, because it's part of ourselves here, and not just for looking better.
If you guys believe that you hold light, you know, that light somehow is coming to you and through you, and you consider that your body's the densest part of your consciousness, like your body's inside your consciousness, and consciousness isn't local, so it's like the area around you too, and like you are inside your consciousness. So as you make your body lighter so it can vibrate higher, then you have access to higher states of consciousness just by, I guess,
True.
fasting is the best way to say it, you know, just putting things in your body that have more light. So like, even if you're not going to fast, like if 24 hours is too far for you the first day, or 48 hours, then like just eating more greens or green juices, or, you know, things that are light for your body. And it's nice to eat heavy stuff too. It's just like, you know, check that out too, you know.
I think also what is important, like to do these things step by step and maybe not drastically, because then you can have really bad side effects. I really like what Marina is also recommending, like every 2 weeks, just drop one of the things that don't really serve you. Oh, what is this noise in Gary?
Oh,
Okay. Sorry, I muted you because. So I don't know, every 2 weeks to drop caffeine, like milk products, meat. Of course, I'm talking about this especially. I mean, they're heavy. I'm not saying that you necessarily need to be so like 100% vegan all your life, maybe, but also like being conscious where this meat comes from. Like step by step, starting to drop a couple of products, especially those that we know that are not good for us, and getting into, as you mentioned, like greens, veggies, fruits, and then also transferring into more like juicing, and then easier is go for fasting, because we are like on like very fast. You want to put speed on a train, it can be hard, or to stop it. Yes, we should do it step by step, slower, I think. And if I try to do it like dramatically, it would not work that well. This is from my experience too. And I think that's very amazing what ketosis can do, because that's how I actually started my journey with sort of fasting, but afterwards simply eating more consciously and more oil products. It actually helped me to control my sickness. I mean, I didn't have afterwards any seizures, which was amazing. Otherwise, doctors would tell me only that medicine can work, and nobody even told me about this option that ketogenic diet was used already for more than 100 years in US, and it was tested in many cases, and nobody would tell me. And I thank God I dig myself into it and decided to try it. So it can, I truly believe it can help for many issues that we have, and we are told that only medicine can help.
Oh, do you know what? This really reminds me of a few years ago, and I had like severe food poisoning in Mexico, and I came back and I didn't go to doctor or anything. And a year later, I was having like sharp pains every time I ate anything, and I went to the doctor, and like they just don't tell you about ways that you can fix your body through food. And I ended up doing my own research and started doing a low FODMAP diet for a few months. I cut out all dairy, all wheat, and I even like had to cut out avocado, mango, like all sorts of different things. And it was so frustrating that the doctors never told me about it. I was like, I could have literally fixed myself like so much quicker. It's just so annoying that they just want us to put you straight on medication to fix things, and actually you can just fix it through food and diet.
Yeah, it was frustrating, but I have compassion to them that they were programmed this way. This is the program of universities. They were taught that this is the best option. Some of them are like questioning it too because they see the effects, and I'm happy to see this movement too, that they're more holistic doctors and they're getting out and of the system, let's say, and doing some other practices too, more aware. However, I don't know. I would go for only for a normal doctor or maybe for testing because I don't have any other option, for instance. But I know through this experience that I need to do my own research, and I think it's a great advice for anything. Like, oh, about truth, Gary. No, I see you nodding.
Hopefully, like the background noise is not bad now. I'm outdoors. Yeah,
Oh
actually,
no,
like I did like. Hello, can you hear me? Oh, yeah. I did like around like 6 months cycle. So 48 hours like each week on Mondays and Tuesdays, and then like one of the cycles I did 5 straight days. So just to like be really like clear about like the outcome before like I even started it, I went for a blood test, and after I finished like the 6 months course, I went for another blood test. The overall like bad cholesterol like fell by 30%, and like the overall white blood count actually like increased by 30%. So that's like as quantitative as you can get. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, the qualitative experience was that I realized I ended up having too much time on my hands. I had no idea what to do with it, and I didn't even actually like didn't even need to sleep as much anymore.
I love that noise in the end. Oh my god, that's really cool. Wow. Who wants to join the challenge? I really feel like I want to. I mean, I know Jackie. Jackie, you are still on 7 days.
Yeah. No, no, no. I've been coming off it as of yesterday, but I did do one for 14 days at one point. Um, I was really young. I think I was like 24 when I did that. I was working full time when I did that too. It was pretty crazy. But um, yeah, Gary, that is so cool. So that kind of brings me into a lot of what I think about in Web3 is that, you know, getting those blood tests and, whether it's like vitamin levels or because there's people that get vitamin injections and things like that. Um, like how do we own that data and use it for ourselves for like, for the future?
Yeah.
True.
So you need like I guess to do that you really need a whole bunch of equipment, right? Kind of like if you're kind of like doing it on the superficial level, not really like getting too invasive, like the measurement, like the with things. There's like this physical machine that kind of like weigh yourself, which I was kind of like doing, like in between. I would kind of like measure myself every morning to see what the weight, like body mass, like fat index, water content was, and kind of like charted everything. And then I will kind of like tweak, like basically it's just like a whole bunch of A/B testing. So like I tweaked it like the what I was like doing literally. Then like I see like what the weight and like what the body mass like change was over time. That was interesting. Yeah, but if you really want to get into granular, then you probably have to like be taking blood tests like every day. Then you really get very granular.
So one of the reasons this means so much to me and why I think about this a lot is growing up, my dad was diabetic. So I was very used to seeing someone like blood test every day and that kind of stuff. And then he had cancer later in life. So if my mom wasn't going around with him to his hospital, and he had cancer for 6 years, but she was his nurse, she took care of all his documents and all of that stuff, and he was, working at the same time. So for me, I think there's a lot of people who are sick that like sincerely want to be deeply engaged and part of their healing process. And a lot of times that layer of like doctors and healthcare and all that stuff. And thank God, like I have no qualms against traditional medicine, conventional medicine, alternative, all of it, whatever. I'm glad there's on boards at every point for people wherever they are to get access to things they think are going to help them. But yeah, like I think the opportunity here is for people to have more power in that. So I guess that's like the point I'm coming from, if that makes sense.
I kind of like see a relationship between like the diabetes and the cancer because both are like related to like sugar intake. Yeah, my brother had like cancer when he was like 35, and I was like, dude, I like share the same genes as you, man. At 35, you had cancer. Oh my God, what is going to happen to me?
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I had
and
an,
yeah, and there's like what?
I was just
Brian?
going to say, yeah, no, I was just going to say I had an auntie who sort of got into this kind of like health and then tipping into the spiritual thing. But she always said to me that if you look at the word disease and break it down, then it's dis-ease. That was one of her things, and I kind of think a lot of ailments and diseases are caused because we're somehow out of balance, out of tune with ourselves in terms of like how we feel or what we're eating or what we're not eating. And yeah, I mean, when you think about, for example, the whole coronavirus thing, there wasn't a huge sort of publicity campaign about taking vitamin D or taking zinc or other things that you might do to improve your immune system. So it's kind of, it's all in terms of sovereignty over your health. It's all to do with information, really, isn't it?
It's a different agenda there. Otherwise, we would be taught like how to eat healthy, how to take care of our body more at school. Even I think this is like I'm so happy that Jackie that you brought it up. Like we should know more. It's about us. When we go to someone, of course, it's like, yeah, this is intermediary. We trust that the doctors know what they're doing, and many times they don't, or they know and still they sell us something. Basically, for me, they're like just sellers of the medicine.
Well, they had a big problem with the internet, didn't they? Like local GPs, doctors, because
Yeah,
suddenly patients were coming to them and
yeah,
with
questioning.
questions and
Yeah,
opinions, and they were saying, well, they got it from the internet or they got it from Wikipedia, and there was a big joke about it, how people were self-diagnosing and all the rest of it. But the point is, they don't really want us to take complete responsibility for our own well-being, do they?
yeah. How many
Maybe out
people
of a
want
job at
to?
some point.
No, well, it doesn't make anyone any money if we're using like holistic medicine to cure ourselves or diet. It doesn't make anyone profit. And that's
Yeah,
where the
and
problem is.
that's interesting what you brought up, Brian. Like it's also about the mindset and us taking responsibility for our health. It's easier to go to doctor and say that this medicine doesn't work or that one. I want a magic pill that will solve all the things. While I think everything starts within. Either those are emotions or the way we eat. What are our daily routines? It's like we have to go
Me,
to
the
the
habit.
mirror and face it. Like you were not taking good care of yourself. And that's what happened.
I just wanted to say that I saw online somewhere, and I think I truly believe in that. It was like there was like this. Of course, it was like a picture of a doctor teaching other student doctors, and the main rule was a cured patient is a lost client, and it really stayed in my head.
Huh.
I just wanted to add a couple things that's been brought up here, technical things about fasting. So one is there's something called autophagy, AUTO, I think it's PHAGY. And basically what happens is your body goes through and it cleans out the old cells that are no longer working, which are that's where the cancer cells are. And it recycles them back to being healthy cells. That's why your skin gets better. And so that's something that starts around 18 hours, and I'm told by the doctor that I watch, it peaks around 72 hours. And the other thing I noticed is when you run your body sort of like acidic in a way, so like they had like acidic water was a trend for a while, and then like if you drink green juices and green stuff, then your body is like acidic. If you think of like when you add sugar to stuff, things like bubble up and foam over. But when you add the acid, it sort of like goes down and gets skinny and disappears. So like what I've found, I mean, I'm not a hardcore vegan. Like I fall off sometimes I am, but I fall off the wagon, and have a pizza and stuff like that with my wife. But what I notice is like over the last like 5 years of my life that I've been mostly vegan, like I haven't been sick. I got COVID once for 10 days, which I believe was like a man-made disease anyway. And then I don't get sick anymore. And it can't live inside of me. Now that's a belief that I have. So that's like how I think about it. So maybe that's my reality. But versus before that, like I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease one time, like 10 years ago. And what I just concluded out of the whole thing, like they wanted to give me meds that give you cancer basically, and I didn't take them at the time. But what I concluded about the whole thing is just that like your body is telling you something always. Like if you have an irritated bowels or whatever, then it's because like there's something you're doing that you don't want to do, and or something like that. That's how it was for me. I was working as a consultant at PricewaterhouseCoopers, a Big Four consulting firm, and I was pretty miserable. I mean, I had a good attitude about it, but I was pretty like I really didn't want to get on that train every day at 4 a.m. to go downtown. And so like that my body told me then, and when I stopped doing that and I started my own business, all of a sudden, I mean, I changed my diet and stuff, and I just started listening more, and your body like will tell you what it needs and wants. And I just think that if you eat green stuff, your body just it's like loving yourself kind of.
Yeah, it feels so good. Thank you for sharing this.
Is what I
Actually,
realized.
Carl's also mentioning that we don't get sick. I also got COVID, but it was like also a low moment for me. So I think like I was on lower vibrations and then I got it. Marta remembers it, like I was almost dead. Gary, you started to say something too. You also don't get sick.
I realized I stopped getting sick as soon as I stopped going to the office. Like every time, like when there's like a flu season and someone brings like the flu into the office, like basically it's like a dog cesspool that's going on. It's just going into that like, oh man, that's infested air. I don't think it's healthy.
Yeah, I mean, going out is quite challenging, guys, no? It's like going to restaurant and saying no to so many things, like how to pick up anything vegan even. That's why I enjoyed so much going to Warsaw. There were at least a couple of vegan restaurants that we could go together, Marta, remember? But otherwise, if we go the standard one,
Yeah, but I live in a freaking heaven because Berlin is the European capital of vegans. And really, anywhere you go, of course, besides having, like falafel everywhere here, it's just that anywhere it's like now it's more popular, of course, to drink your oat milk than regular milk. And honestly, wherever I am, at least I have a couple of very nice vegan options. So, and also like, 15 minutes by walk away from me there's a store called Vegans, and they have even cheaper vegan options than in regular stores, and everything is vegan. So if you want to eat good vegan stuff, you need to come to Berlin.
I mean, that's amazing how, with this raising of our vibrations, we all like more people started to be vegan, more conscious about like, oh, I don't want meat. I was eating from some time to time, and then suddenly it was like, no, I cannot take it. I love tatar, for instance, but now I couldn't take it. Like something was blocking me. No, it's not my frequency anymore. So it was also interesting to observe like these two trends, how Gary would say, like they're coming together, you know, with this raising frequencies. But also I'm interested, like, what you think, guys, because okay, so I was on quite strict ketogenic diet for some time, but it was very hard to measure it and really have the proportions where there is most of the fat and then less carbs, etc. So then I discovered that actually what was equally good was simply to avoid three things, basically, which was sugar, gluten, and lactose. I don't know if you guys like heard of it or tried it too. Gluten is like very bad for us from what I discovered too. Also like another cause of for cancers, for instance. And yet we have it everywhere. It's like this sugar.
Yeah, so I that's when I had did my low FODMAP diet. I cut out lactose, gluten, and I don't really have much like refined sugar generally anyway. But I think those three things can make a huge difference to diet. Also, I just saw that Marta was talking about the Ayurvedic diet. So I read a book when I was away about the Ayurvedic diet. It's so interesting about like for your specific type and what foods work and what doesn't, and even like for like skin like rejuvenation, like oils that you can put, natural oils that you can put on your skin for your type. So that is also really interesting as well.
I'm doing it too. I'm taking oils on my face too, like or like general skin. Yeah, whatever you put on your skin too, like should be eatable, I believe. And I changed also my approach. I don't like to buy cosmetics that much. However, also with this whole trend of vegan food, even today I went to some bio part, and then I'm checking the ingredients there, and they could say that it's gluten-free, lactose-free, and then there's sugar, and I'm like, so there is still like one of the ingredients we shouldn't eat there, and we have to be really conscious about it, and then check every product basically what it's made of.
I went on I guess it was, it wasn't like super strict, but it was basically low carb, low sugar, and almost no carb, almost no sugar, basically. But yeah, I've for about a year with intermittent fasting, and I mean, I think like I can only speak personally, but cutting out bread and pasta, it's like I think a lot of these processed foods, we're not geared up to have so much of them, so any of the processed foods in enough quantity is just gonna do you damage over time. And also sometimes you have a weakness for the ones which you're most which you need the least of. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
it's about the balance, I also don't want to feel guilty for checking, like trying from time to time, but it's more about this consistency and trying at least as much as possible, like
yeah, well, like Neil said, it's nice to have a pizza occasionally, isn't it?
Yeah. Also from social perspective, you go out maybe with someone, you meet people there. Here in my place, I don't have.
For me, it was like connection with my wife. It was like when, like I kind of stopped doing all this like fun stuff, like eating the fun stuff, and so then it was like, but that's not really what I'm trying to do. I still want to, like, it's not I've been working a lot with this middle way, taking the middle path, and so just to allow the flow of life to take me in the direction that is most like relevant for me to experience.
Have you tried, guys, some cleansing, like different detox? Oh my God, what to say? Detox recipes? I don't know, because there are quite many. I know my mother is very much into Ayurveda. I was studying quite a lot of traditional Chinese medicine, also using some herbs. And we can also approach it like to clean particular organs first. So different stuff for liver and also in different season, etc., etc. I don't know if you are you ever tried something like extreme, more like to clean really body apart from fasting.
Augie, you got to tell him your story. You got to share that. The
Oh my
extreme
God.
cleansing stuff. Let's
This
hear
some
it.
disgusting recipe that my mom gave me. Oh gosh. I just finished breastfeeding and she was like immediately, you need to detox. Like I'm barely walking there still with a little baby, but she's like, you need to detox. And she gave me this oh gosh, I remember it was like a mixture with oil, grapefruit juice, and oh my God, and something else. And it was all mixed. And I had to drink this whole cup of it that I wanted to really like, oof, terrible experience. And then I had to sleep all night, like seated, like in the position, like sitting. So everything really goes to the liver. Otherwise, it would go back. I didn't want to experience it again. And then it was really like cleaning my. I believe it was for the liver, for instance. So, but I want to make something extreme and go to India. I told some of you to do panchakarma. I don't know if you heard of it, but it's also like very extreme cleaning of body, and all the dirt is going out with different holes in your body, even for eyes. So yeah, I'm going for this extreme stuff. I believe that we collected so much of toxins and different poisons in our bodies that really I want to get rid of it. And yeah, so that's kind of like things that I remember still from that time. And I use some herbs too, like different mixtures, but I don't know the names actually in English, to be honest. But definitely we have like, detox teas, etc. Infusion.
The best detox tea you can get from your garden is a nettle. You can get any nettle anywhere in Poland, and it's a detoxifying herb, and it also improves your immune system. It's like stuff that our grandmas were.
So the one that you gave me, because I don't know the name in English.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. I tried it too. Yeah.
And in Poland, it's like nettle was very popular, and I'm very happy it's becoming popular again. They're making now soups with nettle, making pierogi with nettle. It's like instead of spinach, for example. And yeah, basically, like my mom has like a couple of kilograms of this nettle, and I still haven't finished it. It's such a simple herb that no one wants to touch because it hurts, of course, and it has also amazing qualities. And this is why I also think that the best thing you can do is just to find out first what kind of things you have locally. And besides, for example, foregoing things such as detox, or for example, fasting, because that's also amazing, but like on a daily basis, just making sure you don't buy something from, I don't know, thousands of kilometers away from you, but from a local farmer is already going to improve your health drastically. This is also how I see
but
it.
this requires this consistency, and to clean really your body, it takes good months, sometimes years, and you need to be consistent. That's what I mentioned. Like detox can speed up this cleansing process. Yeah. Also, what is interesting, I heard, I'm not sure if it was for Poland or some other country, that they want to forbid selling herbs. Imagine, guys, like what the hell? This is something in nature. You can still go out
and collect it. When I was in Spain, I was walking in the mountains, and there was oregano, wild rosemary, other herbs. There was also some herbs that had like beautiful perfume smell. So it's funny that they want to forbid selling it. But
yeah, but not everyone maybe have time to time to go out and collect it or learn about it. They rather go to shop and buy it, and then yeah, I totally don't get it. Like they try to scare us from something that comes from nature, and even doctors were telling me, be careful with herbs, like what? Come on, I'm taking like some chemicals here,
Yeah.
and you're telling me like be careful with this. So it was also very like concerning a bit, like what's going on, why this narrative? Because I think many people started to go back to these roots of nature and how to heal different ways. Also, we can mention sound healing. What a pity that Sefi is not here. I think he also does something in this aspect. I don't know if you guys tried it too.
I did it. I did sound healing in my life. And it was crazy. It was like at the beginning of my spiritual journey, and my limbs started moving. But then, for example, I had a very bad pain in my back that wouldn't go away. And yeah, of course, after sound healing, it was completely gone. So it was my first, like actually, sound healing was one of my first steps into spirituality.
So I'm doing like energy healing at the moment. So I've been doing. So I'm attuned to Reiki, which I did a couple of years ago, and I've always found like if I'm feeling off balance, or like if I've ever got like anxiety, or if like for instance, quite a few years ago I had a miscarriage, and afterwards I just felt like I really had to have Reiki to kind of rebalance everything. So I did that originally. Then I got attuned to Reiki, and then the last couple of months I've been working with an energy healer who she's like a life coach, but spiritual life coach. And so she does like an hour of me, like I'm meditating, and it's online as well. It's over Zoom. And she does, I don't even know exactly what she does, but she does some sort of like activation but virtually, some sort of energy healing. And I do feel like it's made such a difference to my like mental like health, like just realigning myself. And yeah, it's been amazing, and it's definitely opened, like clearing chakras. So I'm doing that quite a bit more now through meditation, and it definitely makes a difference, I think.
Oh, thank you, Charlotte, for sharing this one too. Energy healing, and by the way, we have to catch up for Reiki talk.
Yes, definitely.
That's why I also got quite interested in this biogeometry. There's also bioresonance stuff, and I would like to find out more there. With
Oh, also interesting. I was going to ask you: have you heard of heart math?
yeah, I saw it somewhere. I think Marina was mentioning somewhere.
So it's
Neil,
really
remember?
interesting. It's because I've come across it quite a few times, like this week, and it's based. I think it's really cool because it's basically bringing like science and technology and like relating it to like spiritual awareness with the like opening your heart chakra. So it's just talking about measuring the frequencies around your heart, the frequencies around your heart, but then that's the same as like balancing your heart chakra, but they're just bringing science and technology behind it to, I think, get people talking about it more and actually being open to it.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. Like so many great researchers are like somewhere in the background, not promoted enough, I think, for the researches they've done. So it's not just woo-woo stuff that like you can measure all of it. So and they've done it, yes. So maybe let's start believing in it. I mean, the moment I started to experience, of course, everything related to energy, yeah, I cannot deny it. And I was very analytical. I'm very well grounded. But then experiencing it, it was a different story. And I think it's also very, very helpful. Sometimes I do it to Marta pretty often. She's calling me when she's sick.
I have, by the way, I just have a short question because I'll need to
Yes.
go in a couple of minutes, eat my dinner finally. And I wanted to ask you guys, because I really want to continue this conversation, but our infinitely open minds is, of course, first talking about how can we change the world, but I really would love to have a group with us where we just kind of motivate each other to be healthier and just share all our tips and practices. So I just wanted to ask, like, if you feel like opening a new chat or just maintaining it, maybe. No, but on LinkedIn, Neil is not there, and I also I want us all to be able to participate. So I just want to know what are your thoughts on just having like a separate
I
discussion?
definitely be up for that.
You can open another one on WhatsApp.
Okay.
Like I think
Then
everything is there now, and we have these different groups, and later we'll figure out something else because I think would
Well,
be
you could
great maybe
use
to have a
Discord,
separate
Barbara.
app. Not too many people from our like group use Discord, from what I see.
Okay.
And yeah, I know that there are different channels, like, but I don't want to force anyone to go into something that they don't feel like.
Sure.
I'm not sure. I'm not trusting either, like to WhatsApp. I don't want to promote WhatsApp, to be honest. But I hope that soon we will simply find a solution where we can have independent app potentially.
Telepathically, I think we have telepathic. I think as we eat more vegan, we get telepathic powers and portals. Portal
yes,
travel.
I agree.
I mean, that's what we are doing with Marta already.
Yeah.
That's why you don't chat that much. She's visiting me in her dreams too. Like, yeah, whatever.
No, I visited my another friend last week. She was taking shrooms, and I had some crazy dreams with her that night. And I messaged her in the morning, Natalia, are you okay? She said, I had the craziest night in my life. But what dream did you have? And I had the dream where she was kind of like fighting a piranha demon, and she also had a baby with this demon, and it was like crazy. It was really scary. And then she said, yeah, I actually had a dream where I was fighting my demons. And I was like, okay, cool. So I guess I visited you in the middle of the dream. So yeah, but also it started getting more intense after I got vegan. So let us all be vegan so we can just talk telepathically.
So if you guys think of me, it's because I'm talking to you telepathically. So just go with that. Let's see what. Maybe I don't know. What do you think, Gary? We could like create some sort of dance telepathically. Dance.
I think we should try it, man. Let's go for it. It's like I think it'll be an interesting experiment.
Totally.
I mean, all these synchronicities. I think everything is related. Collective consciousness, guys. Like,
Yes, I was literally about to say that. It's connected consciousness. Like I was literally about to say that because when you like get rid of all like
because of the collective consciousness.
yeah,
It's not the same.
yeah, when you're like in tune with people, then you do think the same. And I think this is really interesting in like teams as well, and like collaboration and innovation. It's like if you are in a team of people who are not like stressed, not anxious, or like eating really well, or like in touch with their intuition, their spirituality, then working as a group, there's so much more collaborative and innovative discussions and ideas that can come because you're all connected. So I think it's really interesting.
Oh yes, I mean it's way more synchronicities. Everything like happened in the. I don't know. I take phone and to write to someone, and then I see him writing. I think it was with you, Neil, too. That happened. Like, what the hell is going on? Like, we are already connecting somehow. So, yeah, that's crazy.
The truth. I believe that. I mean, I think that probably like you were saying, Charlotte, about the heart resonance. It's probably a lot stronger than the mind resonance by a lot, and so our heart resonances must be in coherence probably to bring us together like this. And so as we show up inside of our heart space and see how we can help each other or add to what each other's got going, I think we are putting an unconditional sort of love out into our fields individually. And we probably receive, I mean, everybody here probably has lives that they love, most of it anyway. And so that's how I think it works. I think it's a quantum field that our frequency we emit and then we receive back sort of what we're putting out. And
yeah, that is exactly how it works. Because when I've been researching this heart math, like when you're a fetus, like in the womb, your heart develops before your brain. So the frequencies around your heart is so much stronger than. So like that is why like doing heart math or like opening up your heart chakra does create these connected consciousness like situations when everybody is doing it, because you're sending out that like heart frequency.
And I think there are like life hacks to get into a more heart frequency, like sort of like not falling for like the programming in a way, and being more disciplined in a way to like say, you know, that's the easy route, like the sugar, for example, because we're talking about diet today. That's the easy route, but actually my heart probably really appreciates functioning on ketones, which it does, which happens after like you deplete all the sugar that you have, or the glycogen, glucose. And so, yeah, I think this is about like heart health almost, is what we're like. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to just say is I drink distilled water, which we learned from this Marina Jacobi online years ago. And I think you can't overdo it on distilled water because we're like batteries. So like we're a mixture of salt and water, and we draw energy through us. But it totally pulls the toxins out of you, and you feel more clarity, more in tune with yourself. So that's just another little hack I'll throw in here that I use.
Yeah, that's great. I was also thinking if heart is like, this is our actual mind, and like we should be driven by heart. We were taught it's mind, and we should
There's
listen more to this frequency.
there've been quite a lot of stories of people who've had heart transplants. So that, in other words, the donors. Sorry, not the what would you call them? Donees. The people who've actually had someone else's heart put in them, and have made a full recovery, and then have gone on with their life, and they'll suddenly find out that they love a certain type of cooking, or they're really fond of piano sonatas and they never were. And actually it changes their entire personality and their entire outlook on life in some cases.
Yes, I've heard this as well. It's so interesting.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Wow.
To think, and I mean, there's this you know, the legacy of I don't know what you'd call it, scientific rationalism or reductionism, you know, and the fact that our consciousness is inside our head, in the grey matter in our brain and nowhere else, and that's just not true, you know.
And when you get that, Brian, like that means you take your consciousness with you everywhere you go. So you no longer ever have to be scared of any situation or anything ever, because it comes through you, but it also comes through the other person. It comes through everything around us. So like you are the field that your life is moving through, and the more we relax, breathe more happier hearts, feel more ease, listen, the more our lives get that way. And I've experienced that.
Even logically thinking, heart is our motor. It's pumping the blood, and then everything works because what heart is doing there. If heart stops, then everything stops. So then it has to have the major influence on everything. What the frequency will be of this pumping, putting in motion basically our body.
Actually, like some like interesting like stuff to add, right? Two things. There's been like research where on like car accident victims where like the logical part is kind of like detached from like the rest of the brain. So what happens is like the subject was able to explain everything logically, but was never able to make a decision. So you kind of equate like the heart to emotions. Technically, what happens is that first you feel something, and then after that, you logically justify it. It's not really the other way around. And the other thing, which is like kind of like there was like a bunch of research on Tibetan monks that was doing like a lot of meditation, at least like 10,000 meditation in their lifetime. And what they studied and realized was that those folks, their vagal nerve system is like always very relaxed. And the average human being, because of the mirror neurons we have on our head, right? It's like when we come in contact with another person, which actually has a very relaxed vagal nerve system, tends to like trust that person more than another person that has like a very tense like vagal nerve system. So yeah, I mean, it's like quantitatively actually all adds up. So
Our energy resonating.
yeah, you can say that, or you can like even say, hey, the emotional state of this person is kind of like at rest. Like sometimes I kind of go to like some laundromat, like person's kind of like really agitated, like already instinctively, my sixth sense is telling me is like probably not very safe to be around this person. Maybe that person kind of go into fight or flight mode, and it's like I have to like waste a whole bunch of energy like dealing with that. So just get out of space really fast.
Yeah, considering that we are all energy, it makes sense. Like you resonate or you don't resonate. Like how different, like how big difference there is, and you immediately feel. I don't know. It's just the worst part is when you don't know what exactly doesn't work with the other person, but you feel like there is something we don't resonate, and but it's hard not to, like, I don't want to make assumptions about the person I don't know, correct? And then but there is something good. We don't resonate. I don't know.
I look at it like they're mirroring something back to me. So when I see if it stood out to me that somebody was agitated, for example, in my space, for years now, I'd go inside and say, where am I agitated? And just see, because it's a reflection back of me somewhere. And then I have a little bit of work I can do there in my next meditation that kind of transmutes that. And then pretty soon I don't see agitated people anymore, unless I put Netflix on.
Well, I think that also comes back to like who you're surrounding yourself with and like what frequency you're at, because I think when you're like leveling up and you're thinking differently and you're working on like different frequencies, you tend to move away from people or being surrounding yourself with people who aren't doing that as well. And then I've found like when I'm out and about, I tend to come across people who are like similar minded to me because of the way my mindset is, and I don't tend to attract people anymore who aren't. So it could be to do with that as well.
Yeah, definitely. I see like so many good people approaching me now. Go ahead, Gary. Sorry.
It reminds me of like this conversation I had recently somewhere where I kind of like sharing like how the whole idea of like karma processing works, right? When you kind of like look at it from a biological perspective, we all have like our history, we all have our stories, and like those stories are in them are trapped like energy that's kind of like still there in like the nervous system somewhere, trapped there in like the memory, right? When you kind of like think about them, it triggers off like a whole bunch of like emotional response. And when two people and they come together and their history and emotional like energy kind of like starts interacting, it's like sometimes it's like for the good, sometimes like it just like spirals into the negative. Then like your natural human instinct is like that person needs to change. But actually it's because you are kind of like adding dynamic, right? Now there's a kind of like take a step back as I think, all right, I created like this blank white canvas and like probably have an interaction of some sort, and then like start like noticing interesting dynamic happening. It's like, why is there like pulling so much energy? And like take a step back, it's like, the person's kind of doing some projection and kind of like trying to like change the person's like projection. Now I think to myself, but that's like the person's like own karma to process. It's not my problem, you know. So after a while, it's like once I kind of like become aware of that, it's like, yeah, it's not my
Gary,
karma.
have you ever read a book called The Celestine Prophecy at all? It's like a
No.
It's like a novel. I can't remember the name of the author. It's quite it was like a bestseller about sort of 20 years ago or something. But one of the things that it talks about is like if you base it on a kind of electromagnetic kind of continuum, that we're actually interacting with each other energetically all the time, people adopt certain traits. Like I can't remember, but one for example is called a control drama, which is someone steps into your space and they're going to create a drama in order to try and get energetic control of the people around them. And you can see it play out, you know. And there are other ones like Poor Me, or people who are neurotic and try and suck energy away from you. But he actually goes through within the sort of realm of this fictional story he's writing, the different character types, and it's just like first time you read it, you kind of think, wow, you know, I know people like that, and now I can sort of understand on a different level what they're doing, that it's actually it's an energetic process, really.
Actually, the most like fundamental lesson I learned was when I was in San Francisco Zen Center, right? The monk was giving instruction. After we finish our like Zen meditation, he's like saying, the cup there's water and there's mud, right? It's really murky. So the key thing is like to learn to just let it rest instead of steering it. So like I guess like the greatest discipline is just like really sit and do nothing. Because like sitting and doing nothing is really hard. Though. You kind of like get boredom, or you kind of like see these stimulus and you kind of like want to interact with it because it's kind of like it's screwing off some stuff in you. But you kind of like start like practicing in the whole discipline of like sitting and letting it rest. Kind of like all the mud will slowly like kind of like settle.
I saw
Dude,
a
I
really,
agree with you. I go ahead, Brian.
no, I'll just get this out of the way because it's just an interesting story. Because I saw like this really aggressive person on the street who was he was shouting at an elderly woman who was like half his size, and it just, the whole thing was a bit aggressive. So someone came over and just stood by him and said, "Stop! You're a bully," like that. And he kept shouting at this guy and looking kind of physically aggressive. And this guy just repeated, "You're a bully," like in a totally normal tone, about 5 times. And the guy burst into tears and walked away. It's just kind of like crazy, isn't it? Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Actually,
It reminds me of dramatic triangle. Sorry, guys. Like there is always a victim, abuser, and someone who tries to, like, mediator between them. And usually, like, that's how we would for emotions, and it's very like common. I think that's why we are mentioning it. To go into this triangle, but what I found out, everything starts from the victim and someone putting themselves in the position of victim. Like, I'm always bad and all the world is bad to me, and then someone could come and rescue them, and they put themselves in this position.
Also, the perpetrator is a victim too, because the perpetrator is just acting from their version of what love is. They are love too, right? And so it's like both of them nobody wins. The victim doesn't win, the perpetrator doesn't win. Maybe the observer wins, I guess.
It's a beautiful example how perspective changes like our label, let's say. So depending on which perspective you would look at.
Also, I
Charlotte?
think it's just like from that story as well, it's just thinking about like how everybody just has to deal with their issues, because people just, I think that people are only mean or like rude when they've just got issues, like they're not happy, they're jealous, or they've got stuff that they need to like sort out themselves. If everyone did like self-healing and worked on themselves and worked with a coach or a life coach or a therapist or whatever it is to like heal whatever issues they've got, then generally people are just going to be a lot nicer. Because the only people I ever come across who are mean or judgmental to like other people are when they're just not happy themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The most like interesting example was last night when I was like having shisha at a shisha place. Usually, like when you go to the restroom and the toilet is kind of like the door is like locked, like closed, right? It's kind of like turn the handle and try to push in, which is kind of like what I did. And then it was locked. Someone was inside. So okay, sure. So we'll just like step back. Like 3 minutes later, the person came out. It's like, so saying, that was like really rude. What you did. I was like, interesting. I was kind of puzzled. Sure. Just like accept it and just let it be. Went in, relieved myself. Amen to that. Came out. And the lady was like talking to the shopkeeper, and then like after that, she like revealed, yeah, I have like some phobia about this. And I was like, oh wow, I had like no idea. It's like from my perspective, it's just a very simple action, but a person on the other side, like someone pushing on the door, had like some trauma in the past, and it triggered it off, right? And then because of that, she brought that trauma into the present, and actually like based like future interactions based on the trauma. Now, if you kind of like have like some trauma yourself or some like disturbance yourself, then that trigger basically would trigger off like your own like disturbance, and it becomes like a vicious cycle.
Yeah,
See like how this like dynamic will like play out.
I've also seen that with like conscious parenting. So I watched this workshop on conscious parenting, and I've noticed that if I ever, like, it doesn't happen often, but if I ever do get angry at my 5-year-old if she does something, it's usually just because it's triggered something that I'm like fearful of. So, like, for instance, if I thought she'd done something dangerous to like my 2-year-old and I got angry, she hasn't actually done anything wrong. It's just a trigger that I've got something that I'm fearful of, and then I've brought that into that moment, even though that hasn't happened. But when you're aware of the things that trigger you, then those situations are avoidable.
However,
I love it.
here, what comes to my mind also to express somewhere this, different emotions, and not hold them, like transmuting them. But then I know some people that would not say much and would hold a lot of different emotions, and at some point you just go out and then it can be a drama. So this transmuting, I think it's all expressing different ways, or like I know people start doing art also to let it out somehow. But this is the danger of keeping it inside, and by the way, it can also cause some different sicknesses. I also I got, there was some book that actually was explaining like each different disease, it's because of which different emotions having impact on us, like being kept in parts of our body. That was also like crazy finding for me.
Yeah, so this links back to chakras again, because with the
Yeah.
research I've done on balancing your chakras, every chakra has a point of like a physical element as well as an emotional element. So I don't know them like all, but okay, for instance, your throat chakra will, if it's not balanced or it's blocked, will come out in either being like unable to express like how you're feeling or talking properly, or like lack of confidence, or it could literally be like thyroid issues, or having throat infections on a regular basis, and it can literally just be because your throat chakra is blocked.
Yeah, and also like all this acupuncture, how all different dots are connected in our bodies. Oh yeah, acupuncture is also another interesting part. I don't know if you tried, guys.
I've done that a few times. I love it. I mean, I wish I'd kept it up.
Yeah, it's like look. I was thinking about studying it a bit more, but it's like very very complex all to manage all that body and how many points there are actually to touch. But like even pressure of some particular parts of our, I don't know, hands, feet, whatever, can really be helpful for totally different parts of our body, which is just crazy.
I just wanted to add in the conversation before we get too far away from it about
Yeah,
the victim and the perpetrator and stuff like that. Like, as we come together and we want to focus ourselves in a way where we're building new systems, right? Sometimes I find myself in the victim mode of, well, there was this system in place that, for example, I don't know, we're talking about food, put heavy metals in the soils and the air that then I consume, or just that there was like this system that was like the perpetrator, and here I am, the victim, and it's like, how do I move out of this? And I think somehow we got to transcend that, like the perpetrator is us as well. Like, we are all of it. We are our governments, for example. We are our food. We are our doctors. We are all of it. And then somehow bring them all in through our heart frequencies and give everybody a big hug. Everybody's forgiven. They don't even need to be forgiven because their consciousness expressing themselves, so they're perfect exactly as they are. They're like our children, or we're their children, and come here, have a hug, and we can transcend this together, this story of like them doing something bad to us. And like I'm kind of just ready to move past that.
I just and I just realized that I don't have this kind of these triangles coming into my life, and it was quite often way back in my, I don't know, teenagehood, beginning of 20s maybe, but now I don't think I can recall any other new patterns like this, or maybe I perceive it different way now. I don't know, but I love hugging. But I just imagine, like yesterday, I was watching The Fall of Cabal, and I don't know. I don't imagine like hugging Soros or whatever the crazy guy there, and saying like whatever. I'm not there yet. Oh gosh, this is the hardest part, I think. Sorry, Gary, you wanted to say something. Come on.
Oh, yeah. One thing I'm observing myself like do a lot like over the past few years is like kind of like did like all this like daily like meditation is that as I go about my daily life, apart from like the interactions with the environment, like part of my attention like focus on the spine, more specifically the tension around the spine. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I literally use that to guide my interactions with the environment. It's like if like some parts of the spine like starts like I observe like tension building up, then like I start seeing like what actions is it associated with, and then kind of like most of the time what will happen, I'll just like drop off the interaction, whatever. It's more like, yeah, how do you modify your own behavior in such a way that your nervous system is always at baseline, and that somehow by default ends up getting my interactions to be very clean. In the sense, like once the interaction is done, there's actually nothing left in there, and just like kind of moved on, you know. And there's like no imprint, whatever, so left from the environment on like the nervous system. It's like if you kind of like want to look at it from a spiritual perspective, it's kind of like going around like processing your karma using the environment. But like as you like keep on processing the karma, I was like, there's less and less of it to like process. Maybe after a while, it's like it's almost at the point. It's like, hey, there's like no reason or motivation to really do anything. You're perfectly okay and happy to just like sit and do nothing. Like the do nothing society, you know.
I think I've been learning more of that recently, Gary, because I'm somebody who meditates, and over the last 5 years, pretty regularly, every day and a couple times a day, at least for 20 minutes, he's sitting. And then I broke my toe, and it was like I didn't realize how sitting still could be so beneficial even more, because I learned a lot about myself through my toe and sitting still, and just how like the universe keeps going around you, and how the universe is taking care of everything. It has like the consciousness is super, super intelligent, so you don't need to be as engaged with it as you think you do to manifest a certain outcome, or you can just allow it to be the way it is.
And I wanted to share like the experience I had like going up to the Arctic for the past like few weeks. It reminded me of how life was like before there was the internet and the iPhone.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
It sounds like bliss. I mean, that sounds bliss to me.
like just like reminded me like nowadays we are barely bored anymore. You know, boredom like used to be a thing. It's like, but boredom actually is like underrated nowadays. Within like when you kind of like consciously put yourself in a state of boredom, suddenly like all the previous ideas, like all the data, you kind of
Yeah.
like brain like starts getting processed and synthesized. Like last night was like having like this, literally this brainstorm. If you haven't like noticed, oh okay, then there's wait, and then like the brain like starts presenting another data. That's great shit. That too actually could come together. Wait, the model could be like modified like that. Wait, that actually comes. It's like suddenly like the whole picture presents itself. It's like, oh okay. I was like the whole time I was just sitting there, smoking the shisha, just like staring at the wall, and just kind of like humming to the rhythm of whatever music was coming out of the stereo, and just like literally staring at the wall. And then it's like, oh, interesting. Like having my own conversation with myself.
True, in the slower states, even if it's boredom, it's like we are finding creativity back. I miss that times. Actually, I was reflecting on it too, like with children, like going out and really being in nature and doing all this crazy stuff. I don't know what, like with whatever there was in the nature. Mostly,
Yeah.
there were no toys, and not everyone had something, even a bike. So we really had to figure out things. We were building like houses, whatever, with just some sticks, or like we had this imagination also bigger, I think. even though we have like access to so much information. Ah,
Yeah.
I miss that
It's
too,
that
like nostalgia. Thank you, Gary.
More in the now. What I'm hearing is more in the now. The more, bored. I think of boredom as like a way of things occurring to you. So like I don't consider myself bored really ever, but peaceful. I find peace a lot.
Yeah,
it's
but
like
when
if you
you,
play music, right? Oh, sorry. If you play music, right? It's like you kind of like be like bars of it, just like filling every like slot with like notes. Man, this is kind of chaotic, right? You
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
put
yeah.
some space in there, right? So
Yeah.
that you start feeling some rhythm in there.
but when you started to talk about Alaska going there, I just thought about also another trick. I haven't tried it because I really like warm water. But to take a bath or shower, cold shower, I think it can be also very beneficial for our bodies. Have you
I've done
tried
that
it,
a
guys?
bunch.
Yes.
I've done it a bunch, and I got to tell you, it works. And then for like the last 3 months, I just wanted to be warm again.
Yeah, I really like
Warmth
when
is a
it's
gift.
warm. I know I'm Polish, but I really like warm.
But
And
your body adjusts. I do the Wim Hof deal, and you have a circulatory system, which your heart is doing more work than it needs to if you're warm. And when you stimulate your circulatory system, it moves the blood around your body, and you get that hyper aware state that I was explaining that you get from fasting, or you get from psilocybin mushrooms, or you get from going for a run, or breathing, breath work. It's like all these life hacks that give us more awareness, I think.
I don't know, guys, if you checked it, but on Gaia, their series, I think it was Superhuman, and there is a guy who's going like in some lake, but ice, basically covered with ice, so like it's ice cold, and he's like totally covered there, and he's holding his breath, and I don't know for how many hours even he can stand in there, and he's getting out with the same temperature because he's holding it in his mind. Or
Yeah.
they injected him like Ebola, and he
Yeah.
got rid
That's
of
Wim
it.
Hof.
Yeah, with the mind, like whew, that's the state, It's not in me, and then you hold the vibrations, your energy, on this warm level. Crazy. I'm really
So
thinking about starting it. Just wanted to check if you have some tips
no,
with my state of mind.
you can do it. Just start with
It's
like a
warm.
3-minute cold shower at the end of your shower. Just make it cold for 3 minutes before you get out, and you get a kickstart to your system. You'll feel it. But like, there's all these ways where like if we don't eat for a while, then we're a little bit hungry. We enjoy the next meal even more. If we get a little cold, our bodies amp up and regulate. If we sit still, then we get more creativity and more appreciation for what we have. Like, there's just these like ways of being that are free to everybody. First of all, they're intuitive. It's like what you want to do anyway. And if you just follow those things, they lead you on a beautiful journey. And all it takes is we've got to put down the distractions that are stopping us from doing those things.
But I
Yeah,
also
Neil.
take a bath, like in salts, different salts, and someone said that we could do it even for like 24 hours. I'm on for it. I would like to stay in my bath for that long. Okay, I tried for 2 hours, and already with this salt, yeah, and I feel like I mean by water. I just saw that it's like getting the toxins out. So I think it's another nice
I do
thing to
that
do
too.
for yourself.
And it's very grounding too. It's like kind of like going for a walk in
Yeah.
nature has a similar effect. Getting your heart center.
Mm.
Yeah, reminds me of all the bath I did in the lakes. I actually like jumped into them. It's like first like few seconds, it's like, oh man, the body goes into shock. The mind thinks I'm gonna die. Like, and then after you kind of like stick around long enough for like 30 seconds, after that the mind starts settling down, right? It's like saying, oh, I'm not gonna die. And then like the body like transitions like into the other state whereby you kind of like start observing the adrenaline being released in the head, right? It's like the heat is like kind of being felt, but meanwhile like all your skin starts going numb. And then if you like observe even like closer, you start hearing your heart beating faster.
Oh.
And then after a while, your whole body transitions into like this baseline state. It's like, okay, it's good, man. It's like it goes into that state whereby it's like everything's awake, kind of. And then like wanted to add to what Neil like said just now. The Stoics, right? Part of the trick of being happy all the time is to love what you already have. That's hard.
A
Very,
million
very hard.
percent.
It's like after when you have like a cup for a while, you kind of like take it for granted, right? It's like your mind doesn't really enjoy having the cup anymore. But if you kind of like remind yourself, this cup maybe tomorrow is not going to be around anymore. It's like, oh, I appreciate like really, very, very much right now.
I mean, I had this kind of conversation yesterday, but regarding like people also like to appreciate all these different people that we have in our lives because we never know. Yeah, actually, like mother of my friend died, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, we're like not maybe ready. Is there any ready? We don't want to lose anyone. And yet,
Brian, it's nice to see you, brother. I love
Yeah,
seeing
I
your.
just
I
got
like.
switched on.
I
I've
like
been
seeing
listening
all your
away, but
faces. Like it gives me
yeah, that's
inside
wonderful.
here. Makes me happy to see you guys. So
yeah,
thank you.
yeah. No, we've missed you on sort of mainstream blue chip social media. You know,
Yeah, I couldn't tag you, but I mentioned you.
Oh, cool.
I was like, speaking of like death, right? Like my friend that recently like died, my ex colleague, she's like 10 years younger, has the same date of birth as well as month of birth.
Oh.
It's like, oh, like she committed suicide, but it's like at first, like I saw the news, I was like, oh, that's like a little sad. But when I kind of read deeper into her message, right, the day she chose to kill herself was exactly the day Burning Man, like the temple was burning. It's like tribute to the afterlife. And then I was like thinking, wow, that was like a beautiful way she killed herself. It's beautiful. It's like she kind of lived a full life, and then she like had like this like damage to her nervous system. She couldn't like do any shit of her body anymore. And it reminds me of like the teachings of Seneca, one of the Stoics. It's like if you come to a point in your life where there's like less value being alive than kind of like dying, then you should like literally take your life. And in that tradition, I think she like did very well. In fact, she like did like she kind of like had like a similar death as like what Socrates did. It's like no more like reason of being to continue living. She like Socrates just like drank the bottle of like what was that like the poison herb and just like ended his like existence. It's poetic. It's just beautiful.
I think that's the most brave thing to do, and as and I'm not sure. I didn't dig deeper enough yet in the spiritual aspects, but something
Yeah.
tells me, like this inner compass, that this is actually the best way to go because you decide when you want to go. You choose. Maybe that's why it's in churches they say like it's a sin, etc. Yeah, they for suicidal deaths they would not even want to bury a person on Catholic church like a graveyard.
They're like
So
you hacked the system. You liberated yourself.
yes, you chose when you want to go.
Yeah. But if you like look at the Greek traditions, like taking our own life is actually a good thing when you like come to this logical conclusion that it's time to go. It's like it reminds me of like Neo in the Matrix, like Matrix 2. It was like stuck in this train station. It's like, okay, then what? Like the game has ended, right? I'm like stuck in this
Yeah.
la la land. And then like when you like look back at like the samurai tradition, right? When the land they kind of used to like tie their identity to that kingdom, and the kingdom's no more. There's like no more reason of being, right? They kind of like do seppuku. It's an honor like way of like it's a very honorable way of like kind of like departing this existence. Rather than like sticking around with like no more dignity, why continue existence?
I think we tend to think of the people around us that we would affect. Like for
Mm-hmm.
me, if I hadn't had my daughter, I probably would have
Yeah.
left a couple times. But thanks to having her, I had reasons to hang on.
Yeah.
And then now my wife, and the effect it would have on my mother and stuff like that. So I tend to think that way. And then the other thing I've noticed is when you get close to liberating yourself in that way and you come back, you're totally more liberated here. Like I'm a
Yeah.
pretty hard guy to like get agitated or enroll in
Yeah.
like any kind of drama because I just don't care.
Yeah, I felt the same, like liberated, the perfect world, like disattached from anything material, because I was ready to go. So now I'm celebrating more everything.
Yes, everything
Still
becomes
is.
a gift.
But if I'm losing something, I also don't like. It's okay. It was here. I appreciate it. Goes. It's fine. There will be another chapter, new thing coming. It's so yeah. It was so liberating, beautiful.
And
Even like
everything comes and goes. Everything comes, exists, and goes, no matter what it is. So just like enjoy it in every moment that it
This
is.
change.
Yeah.
And I love it. I enjoy it so much now. Like before, I would like to plan everything and have an idea how it will be, etc. Like to feel safe. And now it's
Same.
like no. I love it. I don't know what's gonna happen. Like with this event, guys. Oh gosh, I was like, "Ooh, what's happening? Like I'm going to meet this amazing person. Um, I don't know if you read my post, but there was this Polish Olympic champion on our panel, and I felt like, what? Like he especially wanted to join our panel, so he ordered it after us, and it was like amazing, way more than I would expect. So, like having these surprises here and there, it's like so cool. Oh gosh.
yeah, it reminds me of like Daigin's. I was like kind of like sharing, right? Like how would actually Daigin's like his like principles and lifestyles translate like 21st century, which kind of like I've been doing, right? Like stripping all the unessentials. And once you kind of like get down to bare metal, there's like nothing else you can strip off. Like it's like so clean and simple, man. As I wake up in the morning, I literally don't even have to think about anything, right? It's just like whatever is like whatever, and like whatever I do is just kind of like a give, right? It's kind of like play, right? No attachments to outcome, whatever. So I just like let be. It's like tomorrow will just handle itself. Next year, what's next year is a figment of imagination. Like yesterday is kind of like just like some twisted like whatever like memory you had, but it's actually like whatever you remember is probably like not complete. So it's just whatever. It's right.
But traveling
And
can put you in that. I think traveling can put you in that frame of mind. I think some of the like the nicest, the times I've felt most kind of in the moment or in the zone have been traveling with the camera. So you're doing a photography project, so you've got an excuse to. And I particularly like landscape photography, so it means basically like road trips of maybe 2 weeks along, say like the last one I did was along the west coast of Ireland. So and you planned your route in as much that you've booked a place for the night, the next night, wherever you're staying in whatever, an Airbnb, and all you're doing is wandering around trying to find lovely landscapes to take pictures of. And there's such a nice kind of rhythm to that. You go and then you sort of like daylight's gone, and you probably then sort of like head home and then go out for the evening and just sit in a bar drinking Guinness or something, talking to these old men in the corner. And it's just like, but you're never really planning much more than an hour or two in advance and just chasing the light and seeing what happens. And it's all like, it's like a total flow.
But let's do more of that. Chase the light. I'm enrolled.
It's
Follow the light.
It's like
I think it's being away from electronics and being actually sort of like driving through landscapes, without many cars around, and just looking at the mountains and just thinking, fucking hell, I'm the only person in sight,
I
love it. I feel it already. Like when you were talking about it.
Yeah, I'm tuned to it now, baby. That's perfect.
No, like
that's the only kind of medicine I need. That's the only kind of medicine I need, right there, Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of like how I'm like living every day.
Because anyway, coming back to your thing, Gary, is that I think when you're on the move, it's easier to separate yourself from all of these external kind of confinements about where you're living and paying a mortgage or whatever it is. I mean, even if you have those things at home, when you're on the road, you're thinking, well, where shall I go and get coffee, and what's for lunch, and whatever else. You know what I mean?
Your mind is more flexible. I think, like Joe
Yeah.
Dispenza was proving. No, if we do every day the same way, we are stuck. Like it's 90% of people would do the same thing. Maybe
Yeah.
5% of things we would do differently. And it's so exciting.
So how do we do something new? How do we do something new?
Oh, we need to
Let
find
go.
some place, I don't know, in Portugal or something. Let's meet.
Let go, man. That's what Gary said. Let go, Portugal.
Let go, I like totally let go. It's like yesterday I was like looking, I was like researching a little like to the homeless like situation in like Portland. I was like, oh, okay. And then like rent, okay, rent is like sky high. Then I look at the price of the rent is like what, $1,500 to $1,800 a month. I was like, oh wow, imagine the amount of experience I could exchange that money for, right? It doesn't really make sense. And then it was like, I flipped over to booking.com. I was like checking the price of hostels in Bali and the price of like hostel in Japan and Portugal. I was like, and then like different parts of like the US. It's like, wow, a night in like of hostel here in like Portland is like $45, right? A night of hostel in Tokyo right now is like $10. Okay. A night of hostel in Bali is around $9. Oh, wait, $4. A night of hostel in like Koh Samui, Thailand, $2. But if you don't want a hostel, just feel free to sleep on the beach, because that's what they all do.
Oh my god! You remind me of this. I was doing it too. I made a Euro trip for like through Italy, south of France and Spain. That my mom didn't know exactly what I was doing, like to be on the beach or sleeping like somewhere that is not protected. But I loved it. It's just so much freedom and
it's free.
Yeah,
it's like
free.
It's like the whole like living off the car thinking of here is like just perfect in the US. I'm like thinking to myself, yeah, I already kind of like checked out the East Coast. I probably wouldn't be going back there like soon. It's like it's just not for me. Like West Coast here, like cities are fine, but after a while I kind of like feel like I'm probably gonna drop off the grid again. That's what I was like saying. It's probably gonna be hard to like be online because most of the places that kind of like drop off has like no reception, whatever. So, and then like yeah, like the desert is like nice. It's like in the winter, like down in the south, the Mojave Desert, already like a bunch of those guys like bumped into when I was like driving like along those like roads. They say they'll be like aggregating down there in like either like Slab City area in the Mojave Desert or like Tucson, Arizona, like during the jam. So like this end of the year, I was like, I should probably like head in that direction. It's already like starting to feel as though Mother Nature is kind of pushing me down with like the temperature change.
Come to Colorado, man. You got to come check out Colorado.
Yeah, I will. Like when the rainbow, like the rainbow festival, the rainbow gathering happens, dude, we should go.
I mean, I just saw. All right, let's look at the best stuff. Okay, let's go. When is it? It's next year, right?
Yeah, next year. I think sometime is gonna happen. We should like go like for a week and just like go there. And like I don't think they allow like whatever like electronics, which is to go and just like hang out over there.
I'm down to check it out.
Yeah, it's like Sarah was like saying there's like a bunch of like local Burning Man like retreats. It's kind of like not that bougie like the main one that we can like go crash to as well. She's kind of like I think she's kind of like one of the elders like in the Burning Man like community in like 3 states. So that'd be cool to hang out.
Yeah, I've been invited to some burners here in Colorado too. Yeah, I was just watching the 2022 one because you can see videos out on YouTube now and stuff and what that's about. That's the kind of thing you want to take like I don't know, like your own, like a truck that has a house in it, with its own bathroom and shower and stuff like that. Like,
Or just
I think a lot of homeless people go to the rainbow one.
Yeah. It's like there are kind of 2 categories, right? Those with like a rig and those without any rig, right?
Right.
The ladder tramp and the rubber tramp.
See, I still like that stuff. Like, I appreciate a nice shower, a nice bathroom that like only me and one other uses, and like like stuff like that. I appreciate that part about modern living.
It's like this app I use, iOverlander. It's like if you really want to have kind of like a civilized like a bathroom and shower, it's like this on the map. I just drive up, just pay, and just like $5, $7, just help yourself for 30 minutes. Like it's nice. But some of the ones like the hot springs, those are like nicer.
Yeah, the hot springs are nice. We have those in Colorado too, like Steamboat
Oh, that's
Springs.
cool. Yeah. That'd be nice. Yeah, I'll pop by. Let's go like check out the hot spring, like the Rainbow
Oh, yeah.
Gathering. Cool. I
Sounds
think there's probably like some festival happening in Europe as well. No? Aga.
Probably, but I have no idea. I'm
Yeah.
not. I was not interested really.
For me,
With a
there's,
baby,
like-
it's hard, to go for festivals.
there's like this branch of people that are like doing mushrooms and psychedelics and having that experience, which is cool. I've kind of done that, so I'm not really like in need of it anymore. And then, so it's like, where's like the middle way for that as well, like maybe not tied into the mainstream. You need to have a fixed house, but maybe not like, you got like taxes and job over here, and then you got like psychedelics, and like that's a distortion too, I think. So I feel like there's got to be like some sort of way in the middle.
I look at this like kind of tool, speeding up some processes, maybe potentially. But if you
Tool?
use it, yeah, mushrooms. It's like, I don't know, you use astrology to find
Oh,
out
yeah,
more
yeah.
about yourself, no? But
Yeah,
you
yeah.
also like use mushrooms. It's a tool. You can speed up, but if you are not really ready, like how you will use it, this tool, because tools we can use both ways. Same with astrology, all these different tools. I tell people, so many people are reprogramming themselves in some other thing. Like I was programmed here, and then I jump into another one. Now I'm programmed again, but different way. Like remember that it should be up to you to program yourself. So I treat it a little bit similar. With mushrooms, you can also get like into different levels of consciousness. I never tried, okay? Just to be clear. Just there, I was explained by others. I don't feel like I'm there yet. But I think it's simply a tool.
Are you microdosing then, or
sorry?
Are you microdosing? Are you just taking little? Have you heard of microdosing?
To be honest, I'm the only mushrooms I have, like a couple of them, like for healthy reasons, but none of those that are
like
psychedelic. More
psychedelic.
No.
I've microdosed, Brian.
Oh, have you?
Microdosed.
Yeah. What? Not so micro, you mean, or is that why you?
Yeah, I've done micro, and then I've done like 0.25, and then I've done like 0.5 a day, and then I've done like some heroes.
Maybe
doses.
I stop recording.
No, I think honestly, I think that if there are moments that I wish it went in the drinking water instead of fluoride, they should put mushrooms in the drinking water.
Yeah.
But I don't do it anymore. I don't need it anymore. Like it showed me a lot. And I think we have interactions with beings that we can't see on the astral levels. And I think depending on the thoughts that you have, they tie you into these certain beings, or they tie you into these certain beings. And so now I'm more in the middle path, I don't want to go extreme this way or extreme that way. I want to have like something grounded in reality where we can like change the context of what it is to be a human now,
What you described like reminds me of like when I was like studying very heavily into Zen, like looking through all the doctrines. It was like this monk like saying, before I was like achieved like Satori, on the way there I saw magic monsters, spiritual beings, deities, gods. I achieved like superpower, but once I achieved Satori, the rice I ate is still the rice that I ate.
The rice that what?
The bowl of rice I was eating
is
still the
a
same
bowl of rice. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's like that.
Wow, makes sense just to come back to the present again.
Yes. And it's good to have awareness. I wouldn't trade out my experience for anything.
No.
And for sure, it accelerated my consciousness. I'm on a different planet today than I was on before I had those mushroom experiences. And a lot of the meditation. I mean, I meditated a lot. and I've fasted a lot. I'm an explorer, you know. I'm here to explore, and now I'm interested in exploring what it's like to like have community where we agree on what we want everything to look like together. You know, we choose everything consciously, and an in-person situation that everybody's getting all their needs met, without giving their power away to people with different incentives, you know, sort of
like living Plato's cave, becoming self-sovereign, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I
Same
think
thing
we're
over.
doing that with the little decisions and choices we make every day. We can
Mhm.
do that, and I think each of you are doing that already.
Yes.
And you know, as somebody, I'm blessed to have a spouse who mirrors back to me quickly what's going on with me, you know, so I get to raise my vibration that way. And so it's just like, how do we do this? How do we transition from what was? Because it's clearly, we can talk about why it's broken or how it's broken, but it clearly isn't serving us anymore because we're not needing it anymore. So that means it's going to fall away because we're not giving it any energy. So then what do we want to create for our now to replace what these things gave us?
Here is like what you just like mentioned, like reminds me of like another doctrine from the Buddhist like tradition, right? You know, there's a difference between the Buddha and the Bodhisattva.
Yeah.
The main difference is like the Buddha is already so far away, you know. It's like not really accessible for the everyday human being anymore. Even like if you kind of try to access the Buddha is probably not really like attached or interested or whatever. It's just like totally at peace, right? The Bodhisattva has like one attachment left on Earth, and it's like, how do you transition human beings over to like the state of like the Buddha land? So kind of like when you like look deeply at it, then from my perspective, it's less about like trying to change the environment. It's like just like trying to like all you can really do is like just set a living, breathing example of like the path. Really like say, hey, I'll point a gun to your head, you must go. It's like then you like kind of like become a totalitarian. You know? It becomes like a totalitarian state. What you can do is like, okay, I'm like walking this path. You know? This is a living, breathing example of how you like walk a path. Whether it inspires another person to action to kind of like go discover his or her own path, that's his karma. You can't really do anything about it, and you shouldn't be doing anything about it. All you can do is just, this is the blueprint. I'm using it. Help yourself.
Yeah, I agree. Be a guide and a way shower.
Yeah, don't try. It's like the preaching like someone to like kind of do the same is like it's kind of like it kind of deviates you away from the top almost.
Yeah, because you're now attached to the outcome of that.
Yes, that's true. Just walk your own path. The rest
So
will sort itself out.
You're doing. So you think you're going to live in your car sort of indefinitely in this now moment?
Yeah, feels like it.
In now,
Okay.
indefinitely.
Yeah. Though, like sometimes, like for some strange unknown reasons, I get dragged in certain like directions. I get housed in like some like for example, when I was there in Dubai and like in Eastern Europe, they literally paid for everything. You know, like literally, it's like okay, what? Right? You pay for the flight tickets, you pay for the stuff. It's like okay, I'll come here, I'll, like do whatever work I'm like supposed to do and help you with your stuff. And then once it's done, I just like go and leave. And it's like okay, it's like it's just part of like a history. It's just there, you know. But whether I care about it or feel attached, no, actually not. It's like from my perspective, it's just actually like as a gift, but non-essential.
Yeah, all these gifts.
Yeah.
I love it, to become the best version of ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Walk your own path and just be a living, breathing example of like whatever like vision you have in mind. I think like that in itself is good enough.
Yeah, that's the only competition we have, actually. It's within.
There's definitely something to this kind of digital nomad thing, I think, isn't there? You know, in the sense that really, if you can work remotely and everything's about networks and you know, basically what you need is some kind of access, not necessarily the kind of access that you'd expect if you were living in a house, but enough access, and like mobile networks and whatever. I mean, you could even use the whole Starlink thing if you wanted, you know.
Yeah.
and have,
Like,
like good connections or whatever.
mhm.
And then you don't really have to be anywhere, do you? You can be wherever you want. You can be, and then you can stay wherever you. I mean, obviously, if you have family and other connections aside, but if in a perfect scenario, you could basically just, assuming you could get the visas and stuff, just move around and then choose to stay wherever you wanted to stay if it was feasible.
Yeah. Like Japan is like now that it's open up, is like becoming really, really enticing, right? It's like the whole US dollar like exchange rate and like the Japanese yen like falling so cheap. It's like, oh my god. Imagine like staying in Kyoto for like $10 a night. That is like a steal, man. It's like I'm kind of like living over there like in this like very ancient city and then just okay. Highly affordable, no? From my perspective.
We're closing.
I guess.
Yeah, it's super late for me. Sorry, guys. It's like I'm also kind of falling asleep. I didn't sleep well after yesterday. I'm just closing the recording.